Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing establishing exposure to environmental or military occupational hazards for service connection. And who is this for? Any veteran to include Vietnam, Gulf War, and peacetime veterans. This would be a claim for service connection as a non-presumptive disability claim under TERA, which stands for Toxic Risk Exposure Activity. Okay, everyone, this is the first time that I covered this particular topic. So I'm going to take you to the VA's website and share some information with you, okay? I'm going to try to keep it super simple so it doesn't get too confusing, all right? But as always, make sure you go back and watch this video a second time, a third time, pause it, take notes, do whatever it is you need to do to make sure you understand it, okay? So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna take you out to the VA's website. And this is the M21-1, okay? And it's, I'm gonna show you two M21s. The first one is establishing exposure to environmental or military occupational hazards. So a lot of veterans are trying to get service connected under the PACT Act, and it can't. TERA falls under the PACT Act. Also, you can claim it under environmental or military occupational hazards, okay? Is it critical that claims, it is critical that claims processors rely upon all available sources of evidence when verifying and or conceding exposure, reviewing service treatment records, military personnel records, and all other available documents for evidence that corroborates the veteran's statement of exposure, okay? Now, it gives you a 38 CFR 3.303. Don't worry about it. We're going to cover it here in a minute, okay? Let's keep going. Okay. Right here, this is another M21 manual reference, reviewing evidence to establish exposure to environmental or military occupational hazards. Now, the M21 manual reference is just a reference, but it's a guide for VA employees as they adjudicate these claims, okay? So it says thoroughly review military personnel records and service treatment records, okay, to include post-deployment health assessment. Now, if you weren't deployed, you won't have one of these, okay? If you're a Vietnam vet or you're deployed back in the early 90s, you may not have this, okay? For evidence that corroborates the veteran's statement of exposure. Second paragraph, because military service records may not verify all incidents of exposure, it is important to consider alternate sources of evidence in establishing whether the veteran participated in or was affected or was affected by an in-service environmental hazard exposure event. Here are some alternate sources. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, Dwayne, what about this? What about this? They're just giving you some examples, okay? Personal statements, buddy statements, unit histories. Just did a video about buddy statements. News articles. Take the time, go out to Google, a lot of information out there, or lay evidence, okay? And the Veterans Health Administration, VHA's military exposure site. We're going to get into that, and that's where these nuggets are really going to start to fall, okay? So it says important, concede exposure to the claimed environmental or military occupational hazard if the statements provided by the veteran and or others are consistent with the facts, places, and circumstances of the veteran service. Now, I did a video about personal statements, okay? So look at that again, okay? Look at that paragraph again. Look at that video about personal statements. You're going to have to tell them, hey, I was in Vietnam, or I was stationed here. This was my job that I did. I was around a lot of jet fuel because I worked on the flight line. I was a refueler. I was in the United States Army. I worked around a lot of diesel fuel because I was a petroleum specialist. I was a mechanic. And one of the things we had to do once we took the parts off the vehicle, we had to clean them. What did we use to clean them? Solvents. Okay. So you have to leave breadcrumbs like this to help them, to help you so they can concede that this happened. Okay. And here's an example. A veteran claims service connection for a disability due to military occupational exposure to fuels. Okay, I just gave you an example of that. The veteran's personnel records confirm he performed fuel system maintenance duties. If you're NCO, you can have it in the NCOER. Or your MOS, it gives the name petroleum specialist. Now, if you have an MOS, I'm in the Army, I call it MOS. I know other branches call it something different. Go out to their branch's website or Google the description for that MOS and you can submit that as evidence. Okay. Nugget. Okay. Exposure. The veteran's personnel records confirm he or she performed fuel system maintenance duties. Exposure to fuel can be conceded as it is consistent with the circumstances of the veteran's military occupation. Boom. Huge. I just watched a YouTube video where they were explaining all the different individuals that worked on the flight deck in the Navy. Some of them had white vest on, some had green, some had red, some had yellow. I had no clue. And I was like, oh, so keep that in mind as we go through this. Okay. Nuggets, man. Nuggets. And you even have 38 CFRs down below, okay, that you can go and get more information. The same one there is 38 CFR 3.303, subpart A, which we're going to look at next, okay? So right here is 38 CFR 3.303, subpart A, okay? So I'm not going to read any of this, okay? But go through and read it, okay? A lot of information that they have as it pertains to what I just showed you in the M21-1. Again, I cannot credit the VA enough of putting this information on their website. Now, the huge nuggets that I want to show you. Okay. So I'm gonna leave it up for a couple of seconds. Make sure you get the name of this 38 CFR principles relating to service connection. Don't worry about it. I'm going to put the link in the description section. Okay. For this and the next VA's website that I'm going to show you. Okay. All right. Now, this is the VA's website. Okay. There it is. This is the VA's website. Public health, occupational hazards. Okay. So think about the M21-1 that I first showed you. Okay. And it talks about being exposed to different things. Okay. So you come here, where did you or feel you were exposed to asbestosis, industrial solvents, PCBs, vibration. I didn't know that. Look at that. That naval guy with that green vest on. Somebody tell me what job he has. Okay. Noise, lead, radiation, chemical agent resistant coating. In the Army, what would that fall under? Probably your mop suit. Okay. Fuels, PFAS, right? So I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm only going to go through a couple. All right. First one, fuels. Let's click on that. See what it gives us. And remember the condition I say we're looking at, migraines, okay? So it says petroleum products. Petroleum products are chemicals made from the refinement of crude oil, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? And down below it says the following page discusses a Pacific petroleum product and a potential veteran exposure. Okay. But make sure you go through and you read that second paragraph. Many veterans may have come in contact with petroleum products such as engine oils, diesels, and jet fuel during their military service. Okay. Now, let's click on jet fuel. What does it give us? Still on the VA's website, jet fuels. Many veterans may have been exposed to jet fuels during their military service. You don't mean to say, okay? Some veterans may have been exposed while performing certain jobs. Remember, I talked about petroleum specialists. If you were in the Air Force and you were refueling uh, aircraft specialists or something like that, okay? Such as fueling an aircraft, there it is, transporting jet fuel, maintaining jet fuel storage tanks, fueling generators, or tending burn pits, okay? Jet fuel spills in the environment. But check this out. They talk about Camp Lejeune, Red Hill, um, this particular air base. I don't know where it's at, but this is what you want to look for. Here is a huge nugget. Health effects related to jet fuels. Health effects related to jet fuels exposures may include irritation to unprotected skin, eye, and upper respiratory irritation, fatigue, breathing difficulty, headaches. Remember, I talked about headaches? Headaches, dizziness, and sleep disturbance. Okay. Then they're talking about drinking jet fuel. Okay. So I'm not going to touch on that. All right. So that's jet fuels. Let's go back to the previous page. Let's look at diesel fuel. What does it say for diesel? Okay. And again, this is why I'm talking about the VA's doing a good job providing information. Okay. So I'm not going to go through and read all this particular information. Okay. But I'm providing you the link and I'm showing you how to go through the particular pages. Okay. So let's scroll down here. It talks about diesel fuel and environment. Okay. It didn't give any health. It did. Let me find it. But it talks about USS Boxer, naval exercise off the coast of South Korea. Somebody tell me about that. But look, it gives a link with more information. Okay. So for your Navy vets or Marine vets out there, let me know about that. Okay. We're not going to go over it here. Okay. But right here in the second paragraph, it says possible health effects. There we go. Related to diesel fuel and exhaust exposures depend on how long and how frequently you were exposed, how much you were exposed to, and other factors such as age, sex, genetic traits, and diet. Now, why is this a nugget? It's a nugget because you know how long you were exposed to it. Was it daily? Was it weekly? Was it monthly? And guess where you're going to put that information? In your personal statement. Guess where else you're going to talk about it? When you get to the CMP exam. Now, if you file a claim this way and you get to the compensation and pension exam, you at third base. The way you bring it home, come here and read this. And that's how you reasonably articulate it to that examiner based on that sentence I just read to you. Huge nugget. Okay. Also talks about breathing in vapors for a short period of time may cause nausea, eye irritation, increased blood pressure. What? Hypertension, headache, lightheadedness, loss of appetite, poor coordination, difficulty concentrating. So they're giving you symptoms. And just think about if you have these symptoms and any other diagnoses that these symptoms fall under. That's what you're putting in your personal claim. Now, this is petroleum. Let's take a look at one other one. Whoo, there's a lot of good information. Vibration. Veterans who work with machinery on a regular basis during military service may be exposed to hand-arm vibration from using power hand tools. Combat engineers in the Army, maybe Navy Seabees. Okay, I don't know if they still have it. MOS, whole body vibration from operating heavy equipment such as trucks, helicopters, and ships. Okay. Health problems associated with vibration exposure. Vibration can affect the body in various ways. Continuous exposure may cause serious damage to the body. Regular exposure to hand-arm vibration may cause hand-arm vibration syndrome. Symptoms include tingling, numbness, and pain in the fingers. What is that? Peripheral neuropathy / radiculopathy of the upper extremities, the median nerve. Okay. Regular exposure to whole body vibration may cause low back pain. They just gave you a diagnosis that you can claim service connection under this, okay? And then it says learn more about vibration exposure and its health effects. So they're giving you a lot of information here that you could turn around, claim, put in your personal statement, which I have a video on my channel, and how can you reasonably articulate this stuff when you get to the CMP exam? Okay, huge. But they got other industrial solvents, lead, radiation. Okay, so definitely make sure you go out to the VA's website. I'm gonna put the link in the description section for you. Okay, man, that was a lot of nuggets, a lot of good information. And as I always tell veterans, in my opinion, you need to be educated more than you need to be represented. That's just my opinion. The VA has given you some information. So think about the exposure to your military or your occupational hazard exposure. Okay. Think about that. So if you don't qualify for the PACT Act for Vietnam or even Gulf War, use TERA for what? Establishing exposure to environmental or military occupational hazards based on your job, based on how you were exposed to what I showed you in, vibration, the fuse, radiation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So you have to invest your time. Watch my videos. I'm giving you a lot of information. You have to invest your time. Watch these videos. Go back and watch them again. Take notes, and then think about what diagnosis you have and how you can file it under what I just showed you to include TERA. So with that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and don't forget to share this video with your fellow veterans. Thank you.